Okay, good morning, everyone. It's Rob Olson with Technology Source, and today's our monthly virtual roundtable. A little bit about Technology Source. If this is your first time joining us as a solution partner, Technology Source works alongside our trusted advisors. We have about 750 of them to create best-in-breed solutions. Technology Source represents over 500 service providers in managed IT, cybersecurity, AI, customer analytics, telecom, and mobility services. Technology Source works closely with our team of trusted advisors to reduce operational expenses and improve efficiencies while helping to deliver an outstanding experience for their customers. The virtual roundtable, if you're not familiar with it, each month over the last 5 years, Technology Source has hosted the virtual roundtable webinar. During the webinar, we highlight one of our curated and unique solutions that our trusted advisors and their clients have found to be extremely valuable. This month is no different, as we will be discussing the benefits of customer data platforms in some detail. If you're not familiar with a CDP, as it's called, you can simply log onto your Amazon account. CDP is the mechanics behind providing every user with a personal homepage when they log in. Here you can see products that CDP has determined you are likely to buy. This revolutionary technology has helped Amazon, as an example, grow to $2.47 trillion in revenue. So before we introduce our expert, let's walk through a few eye-opening statistics on CDP, because they're pretty impressive. First off, recent CDP customer surveys, people that are asked to have CDP have been asked, what are some of the benefits? 50% stated that they experienced improved reporting and measurement, while 48% report a better customer journey. And that's a big topic we're hearing more and more, the customer journey. What's that experience like? Trying to remove that friction and make sure they give you that coveted 5-star review. 64% reported improvements in efficiency, while 57% experienced accelerated business growth. At Technology Source, as I mentioned earlier, we're really interested in helping customers remove and reduce operational expenses, improve efficiency, and deliver a better customer experience for our trusted advisors and their partners. And so this product really fits extremely well, as you can imagine, into achieving those goals. But here's the data point that I think raises the most eyebrows, and that is the fact that CDP will deliver, through Treasure Data, our guest today, an 801% ROI over 3 years, just an astronomical return on that investment. And it kind of highlights the value and the criticality of CDP. So let me tell you a little bit about our experts today, Treasure Data. Treasure Data builds an intelligent data foundation to improve human life. And thanks to their deep roots, vast expertise, and global CDP leadership position, they're well on their way. In fact, Treasure Data has received multiple awards for its enterprise customer data platform and its innovative AI-powered solutions. Key awards include being named a leader in the inaugural Gartner Magic Quadrant for customer data platforms and winning the Data Breakthrough Award for overall data analytics company of the year, as well as enterprise customer data platform of the year. Wow, a lot of rewards, a lot of awards. Mark, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Mark Cook, the Senior Account Director of Treasure Data, is going to share some of his expertise with our clients and our partners on the call and introduce them to CDP and all of its miraculous features and benefits that it provides. Welcome, Mark.
Hey, Rob, thanks very much for giving us the opportunity to kind of talk about what we're up to. And I'm going to really focus on the CDP space in general, just to kind of bring everyone up to speed. Who's selling it? Why did CDPs even get formed? And then go into specifics to Treasure Data.
I think Tim just joined. I believe he's also from your organization. Can you give us a quick introduction to Tim?
Oh, yes. And also on the call is my colleague, Tim Mazur. He runs partnerships at Treasure Data, including the Technology Source partnership. Hey, Tim. Thanks for joining.
Hello, everyone. How are we doing?
Well, it's good morning on the West Coast, but it's afternoon on the East Coast. So depending on where you're at, it's either good morning or good afternoon. But thanks for joining us. I thought we'd start, Mark, with a few questions on the platform, and we can start. I think this is a logical place to start. Can you briefly explain what CDPs are in customer data platforms, that is, and more importantly, the history of why they evolved?
Absolutely. Thank you. Great question. So why CDP? We'll just cover the CDP vision, like why did this technology come about? And realize and make everyone aware you're using CDPs, whether you think about that or not. Pretty much they're operating everywhere. And the vision of the CDP is to personalize, but I'll explain why. And then what is it like if you don't have a CDP? So the CDP vision is really unify all data to personalize a customer's journey. So if you think about a business, and I'll use a brand we are all familiar with, Nordstrom's, they want to personalize that journey with their customer, including when they're on their website, on their mobile app, when they're in store, when they receive an email, when they see an advertisement. They want to personalize that so their customers are getting the right message at the right time, and that they stay loyal and they spend, and all the benefits of really giving that customer a VIP experience. That's what CDPs, broadly speaking, in the market are designed to do. So we use CDPs daily. These are mega corporations who have built their own CDP. So the CDP market came as the result of wanting to do the same things that Facebook, YouTube, and Amazon are doing. We all log into Amazon, as Rob mentioned earlier. We see a very personalized landing page. Everyone's going to see something different. That is the interworkings of a CDP delivering that personalized shopping experience. YouTube, of course, the rabbit hole of YouTube is personalized feeds and algorithmically driven videos. Like what are they recommending? And most users of YouTube are actually just operating off recommendations versus search. And that's been changing over the years because the algorithms are getting very good at personalizing. And Facebook, of course, you get a personalized feed and you see ads that are strikingly relevant more and more, because Facebook collects a lot of data and they're able to deliver that. So we're all using CDPs, whether we think about it or not. And I think that's just kind of important to frame, how they came about. So why is personalization so important? And it's about the fact that customers really will engage with one-to-one connections. The more of a tailored experience you delivered and personalized offer and recommendations, the more likely that you're going to purchase, stay loyal, and work with that brand. And that's what CDPs ultimately will deliver. And the benefits of that, of course, for a business, like why are they buying CDPs, is they want higher conversions on all of their ads and emails and everything they're sending. They also want larger sales. They want people to spend more, and they want customers to spend more frequently with that brand. And that ultimately will drive brand loyalty, which is very important in a very competitive marketplace. So personalization benefits are there for the business, and going back, this is the benefit to the customer. So, why CDPs evolved, really, with so many different marketing systems and data systems containing customer information, it's really a data fragmentation problem. And so it leads to no understanding of like where your customers are in the journey, who they are. And, in organizations, even some of the biggest customers, largest brands in the world that come to us, their data is everywhere and it's not unified in one simple place. So because those systems just don't talk to each other, if you have an email system, you have a marketing ads platform, and you have a data warehouse, and you have a website that's streaming data, those systems don't talk to each other. CDPs unify that. So when you don't have a full view, you really just don't have the ability to personalize your communications to your customers or prospective customers, and that just leads to flat results. CDPs unify that data for that one-to-one experience. So what is life without a CDP? So customers come to us in a variety of states of chaos, really. They have siloed and manual processes, and it results in slow marketing, uninformed channels, because they're marketing just in the email system, but not really a collective understanding of the customer. That can cause a lack of personalization. Manual processes, building and operating a CDP, we've been doing it for 13 years. We're 600 employees. Imagine going to a CIO or CTO and saying, hey, can you hire 600 people to run a CDP and build one for us? They won't do it. So the result is they're operating with very manual and slow processes. And that ultimately is expensive and it's wasteful. So do it yourself is very difficult. It's slow, it breaks, it doesn't scale or perform unless you're the Amazons or the YouTubes or the Facebooks of the world where you have kind of endless budgets to accomplish that.
Yeah, I think I had a client, we had a client a ways back that was looking at an e-commerce site they were going to launch to sell bedding. And right away, I discussed the benefits of CDP because without it, the end result is that do you have to have you're advertising everywhere, right? Where at CDP, well, they're going to search here, so I'll place an ad here. So you're able to cut your ad spend and really get to the audience you're looking for, right? And price points and colors and all that data that you would normally have to leave up to a guess, a hunch, right? Now becomes data points. And that to me was really eye-opening. I think to that client was very eye-opening as they saw how they can streamline their messaging and they didn't have to be everywhere. They can focus that advertising exactly where it needed to be to attract the most buyers and provide them with the services or the products rather that they'd like to buy, right? As opposed to what they think they want to buy. So lots of value for CDP for sure. I do have some more questions. Can you describe the CDP Marketplace? Who is selling CDPs typically? What research firms are covering the gaps? What research firms are covering the CDP space?
Great question. Thank you, Rob. Let's cover that. The CDP market, who are the competitors, the types of CDPs, and analyst coverage and reports. So first, CDPs are covered by Gartner, Forrester, and IDC, and they publish a report yearly. This will be the third year next year. So 2 years publishing that quadrant and the wave. And so where does Treasure Data fit? Treasure Data is the leading independent enterprise CDP, but I want to preface that with, we do work with SMB and mid-market companies, but we have been very focused on going after the Global 2000, and that's where we kind of fit. And what does independent mean? So if you think about Adobe and Salesforce, those are big marketing clouds, and we're independent of that. And so when customers want to do something where they're not just buying another Salesforce service or another Adobe service, they find that our independence gives them a lot of flexibility and control of their data. So there are competitors out there in the market. There's probably, I don't know, a short list of 25 vendors, and probably over 100 are all raising their hand and saying we're a CDP too. That's kind of the marketplace, and it's projected to be about 12 billion in valuation next year. And on our website, there's a link. This is a leave behind deck as well, so that you can click on that and take a look at the different reports. And as you analyze that, you can get understandings of kind of where we fit. And then I think it's worth covering who buys a CDP. So who are the businesses out there buying this? The verticals that are well suited for B2C and B2B, and then a little bit about the personas and titles. Who are the people that care about operating a CDP or purchasing it? We'll cover that. So first, for B2C, it is by far the biggest consumer of CDPs. Businesses are adjusting and buying them as well. But really, it covers kind of retail, consumer product, packaged good, media and publishing, automotive. So those are also just a form of dealerships or retail. Travel, hospitality, hotels, airlines, cruise lines, financing and banking have been buying CDPs. The entertainment industry, including gaming, TV, film, amusement parks, and gambling. And then also pharma and life science and medical have use cases for CDP as well. So those are some of the stronger verticals. There are always exceptions as well. And then B2B, these are just some of the types, and it's certainly not limited. We like to investigate every opportunity and determine if there is value and a company has enough data to warrant a CDP. So I'll go back here and go back to the B2B. Are there any questions just on the verticals? You could post that in chat.
I'm not seeing any questions at this time, Mark.
Okay, great. And then who are the personas? Who buys and operates? So the CDPs are purchased typically with stakeholders in these 3 areas of a company, almost always. So analytic roles, are definitely there, because when you bring all this data together, it gives them an opportunity to use that data, or they want to apply their own analytic models and bring the data out of the CDP to analyze in their current reporting tools, which we allow. Of course, we're very open white box solution. The marketing roles are the people that own the budget for the most part. They're the people that, they have a XYZ budget per year to spend to drive business. And they really want a solution that's going to optimize that spend and get better results. So they kind of own the budget. And so you see titles from different types of areas of marketing: growth, revenue, VPs, or directors of digital. Customer experience is a big one. And also, new titles that are out there: VP of personalization, paid media. And then down in the infotech or IT roles, kind of under the CIO or CTO chain of command, you are seeing titles like this. They are kind of operating the system level. The marketers are operating the marketing areas of the CDP, and the people that are kind of responsible for bringing data in, organizing the data, and running the system are from your marketing technology groups, MarTech, IT, the chain of commands of chief data officer, CIO, CTO, engineering and architecture folks that care about data, and then also product owners, internal product owners that might operate a CRM. And now we're seeing VP of CDP as well. And there certainly are exceptions to this, but we definitely are talking to all three of these teams during a sales cycle. All right. Any questions about who buys CDP and kind of the roles and the types of companies?
It's interesting to see the changes to organizations now, where you're seeing customer experience roles at the C-level for organizations. They recognize the importance of that experience and providing a frictionless journey for their clients. So that's something that we didn't see 5 years ago. That's now really popping up to the forefront, and a lot of that is driven by reviews, right? I mean, we know that a 1-star reduction in a review is a 40% loss of revenue. So creating a great experience is very important to these businesses, and CDP is a big part of that. So thanks.
Mark, one common question I tend to get around the different personas in CDP is sort of understanding, when you're working with marketing teams and working with IT teams, what is important to them for the CDP to really accomplish, and how does that differ, in those types of conversations?
That is a great question, Tim. And we have some material later in the presentation that actually covers the specifics. Yep.
Perfect.
So Mark, can you describe how Treasure Data works to help unify customer data across multiple channels into a single source of truth? And I like the fact that you use truth, in the question, because it really comes down to that, right? It's no longer guesswork, it's truth. So please give us your.
Yeah, this gets into like the mechanics of how CDPs operate to accomplish that source of truth, and enables a variety of actual use cases. So some of it is capabilities, which we don't describe as a use case. And then once you have data in a single source of truth, we'll show you how it powers marketing to really go back to the core point and personalize. So what is a CDP? Collect, unify, personalize. You see that over and over, the personalization. But first, to get there, you got to do some heavy lifting, and the CDPs enable that for companies to collect data and unify it. So these are just illustrative examples on the left of data sources that are commonly brought in to create that unique profile. This is where customer data is sitting, and there are data signals about what the customer is doing, but those systems just don't naturally talk to each other. Companies will often attempt to bring some of that data together in a data warehouse, but it's very difficult to deal with like real-time or streaming data. It's also difficult to bring in unusual data sources like contact center interactions and to understand the customer. So CDPs kind of streamline that in and to create that single profile. And then over on the right, you see the systems of record that customers are sending data out to. So these are the marketing systems they're using today that right now are not informed, or they're very siloed. So an email service provider, for example, might get a list, send an email to A, B, and C groups, and those groups get unique messaging, but it's not necessarily operating from a collective understanding of the customer. So it's a very siloed, semi-personalized experience as well. So that's the CDP, like at a high level: data in, understand the data, organize it, and send it back out into your marketing systems with a more unique and personalized experience. So the tenets of a CDP to exist must be able to collect data. We'll cover that. Must be able to unify it and understand it and create what we call the diamond record, sometimes called the 360 view. That is that profile. We'll cover what that exactly looks like inside of the CDP. And then it should be able to drive personalization back out. And so some of the bullets you see, real-time integrations, journeys, those are some of the components of the service that help do that. So one of the things that we just want to cover is that, confusing use cases with capabilities and metrics. So unify my data is not a use case, it's a capability. It is not why customers buy a CDP. They buy a CDP because they want to market better and they want to have better financial results. But they get the capability of centralizing their data with the CDP, which does have value, but it's not why. And I want to measure client lifetime value. It's not a use case. It's a metric that you can derive inside of the CDP. And a use case is more about, let's use predictive modeling to find VIP lookalikes and then put them into a targeted campaigns to increase revenue. So as an example, the CDP can pull up the lookalike attributes and behaviors of your top, say, 10% customers, create a commonality graph, and then send that over to Facebook and say, hey, Facebook, these are our best customers, their attributes and behaviors. Can you advertise the following campaign to those people? And you can imagine the power of that, the ability to kind of do that. And that predictive modeling is done inside of the CDP. It creates the very targeted list and it goes off to, say, Facebook, and then they can go after customers that are like their best customers. So they're spending their money in the most optimized way. But the personalization can't work. It can't even begin until you understand your customer. And so what is the dream profile of a customer where you've collected all their attributes? So everything about Emma, everything Emma's done, that's her behaviors, and those are examples there, and predict what Emma will do. And so based on what she's done so far and who she is, can we predict and then market according to those predictions? And the CDP enables this. Now, I want to preface that this is like the best list possible, and most customers don't have every data point around this, but they do have a lot. And if they're really big brands, they have more and more of this data. And you can imagine the type of personalization you can do when you have an understanding of each customer at this level. So the prediction of what Emma will do is where AI kind of kicks in, and predictive attributes have been around for a long time. It's now called AI, but it's really machine learning that has used everything about Emma, everything that she's done to predict what she's likely to buy, what kind of offer will she respond to. Just like Amazon, you log in, they're doing this
Yes.
For everybody. So it really allows that hyper personalization, and the goal for marketers, they would love to have all this data but to bring it all in. And if you think about this data, it's sitting in so many different systems, none of it talks to each other. They don't have an understanding of Emma at a collective level. I'll pause here, Rob. It sounded like you wanted to make a comment.
No, I was just going to say you're right. I mean, this is, if you look at these data points, this is exactly how Amazon is assembling that personalized homepage for everybody so that you have a different experience and it's relevant to what you're interested in. No point in sending me information on tractors if I'm not going to buy a tractor. So I think this is a key basis for their success, is that that journey is interesting. It's personalized. It's things I'm interested in seeing. I don't know about you, but I go on Amazon probably 2 or 3 times a day. So I find that to be very relevant to my, desire to want to work with them. So this is the engine that fuels the whole thing. It's crazy.
Yep. So this is the architecture of creating that diamond record and then moving that data out into the marketing channel. So on the left is the data systems that your customer or the customer or you as a brand already are operating with, and this is just a scaled down list. It can be multiple dozens of sources, but ultimately our integrations in the platform allow you to bring it in. And as just a simple example, if CDP account, you're in the integrations area, and Tim, to your question, this is where your kind of data analyst or data engineer would operate. And they need to bring in data from these sources. So you could set it up as fast as I have my credentials, I have the source, use the integration that's off the shelf in our platform, and data is flowing in, within an hour. And you can bring in all the historical data and then just do incrementals later. But that flows into data processing. So now you have all the kind of raw data from different systems that might have different field names and different inconsistencies. Data processing is where your data janitorial works. Data engineers operate to clean, unify, stitch that data and get it ready for the next phase, which is ID resolution. So that's a component. It's not why you buy a CDP, but it's definitely a capability that's beneficial. This is taking 5 markups at Nordstrom's and turning me into 1. And if you think about the savings on that, if Nordstrom has to market to me with 5 different email addresses that I've used, that's expensive because you're paying per email, or it's placing an ad to me 5 times on Facebook, that's very expensive. It's much better to do it to just 1. And ultimately the best understanding of the customer. So I'm not getting inconsistent messaging. So from there, you create the diamond record, and that's where you want to apply your AI. So AI would be applied to your clean, stitch, and unified data so that its models are working best. And this is where you can create the predictive scoring that we talked about with Emma. What is Emma likely to buy? What's the next best offer or action that we should take? And AI determines that much faster and more accurately, say, than individual human, and at a greater efficiency. The data then goes over to analytics, and that's where analytic teams can look at the data in aggregate and push it out to their tools like Tableau, Looker, Power BI. We're compatible with that. And it applies additional layers of understanding to the profile. Audience segmentation is where your marketer, Tim, to your question, is operating and hanging out in the area where they can then do a canvas-based journey orchestration, which is basically mapping out a journey. If a customer does this, do that. Customer then does this, do that. And you map it all out so the customer's journey is already orchestrated in a way that's automated. And then real-time personalization. If you need real-time, you can push data out very fast into real-time systems, and then activation goes back out. So the purple area is systems your customer or a business will already be using today, and we're feeding that with more informed understandings. Then at the top, it's worth pointing out that think of a CDP as a living, breathing thing. It's not just a one-time thing. Emma's profile is going to be changing all the time based on how she's interacting with the brand. So as you push marketing out, that customer is going to react. That engagement response goes all the way back in the CDP and is constantly updating and keeping that profile active. And I think that is the end of kind of how a CDP works, the teams that work on it, and a little bit about the data sources in and out. Any questions?
I don't see any questions. We did have some requests for copies of the presentation, which we'll make available to anybody that's interested. You're welcome to send us your email address in the chat, or we can set up one-on-one time with Mark and his team for you at any point if you have some questions and like more information. So Mark, I think one of the things I find valuable is the feedback loop, and that you can actually identify what's the ROI then on that information you collected and the data you presented to the client. What was the result of that personalization? Did it result in a sale, and how much, and at what stores, and in what department? And that whole thing's pretty fascinating to me. That it's not just about one-way data. Now it's coming back in a feedback loop, so you can then enhance your data further and provide a fine tune that personalization even more.
Yep, that is one of the inherited benefits of doing this, is that you gain a ton of automation, but you can also get the analytics on a campaign and determine we need to change the segment, or we need to change the messaging, and make those adjustments and iterate. And you have the analytic tools in the platform, or use your current tools to kind of make that understanding at aggregate level, the campaign level. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know how to do
All
marketing
right.
without this product. That's going to be pretty difficult. All right, so let's talk value. Can you cover what value, benefits, and ROI a business can achieve with a CDP?
Absolutely. And I think that's, outside of, again, going back to like, okay, you have ID resolution. Great. What does it do for me? What is the type of uplift that I'm going to see as a business once you get your CDP going? So, what are the challenges to getting return on investment? What are the pillars of it? And then we'll go into functionality and business value use cases. There's benefits and functionality, as we covered, or capabilities, but there's definitely business value that I think everyone really is going to hone in on and want to understand. So the challenges, of course, to, going back to previous slides, is really data silos is the number one killer of personalization, therefore return on investment. So you got to get rid of the silos. CDPs do that. And really, if you're operating with outdated systems, you really don't understand what your customer is doing. You can't react well. And so you're not going to get any return on investment if you're using outdated systems. And then, of course, duplicate records are another challenge as well. And I kind of covered, the cost of marketing to 5 of the same person versus just 1. And that's actually a very valuable use case. So the pillars of CDP really are, the financial impact. You can expect higher conversions, larger sales, more frequent sales, brand loyalty, and cost efficiency with the use of the CDP. And we'll cover kind of the mechanics of that in a little more detail, but this is what our customers are seeing. And Rob, you covered some of the data points the CDP industry is kind of reporting. And so customers are buying CDPs because it's a revenue center. They are not renewing with us if they're just burning money to have unified data. It makes no sense. The only reason customers are renewing and we're growing as a company, and I think the CDP space in general, is it's having a financial impact. It's having real ROI that's measurable, and customers are happy to sign up. We have heard a customer tell us on a renewal, we would have paid 2 times what we pay you. Well, it's great to hear, but it is just proof in point that customers are getting so much value that it's paying for itself. And I'll give you an example of a customer that is making millions of dollars through a simple use case of suppression. And that's a gaming customer called Take-Two Interactive. They own Rockstar Games, and Rockstar Games publishes Grand Theft Auto. And for some reason in the gaming industry, gamers like to create a lot of profiles for a variety of reasons, and they use, say, 5 email addresses. And so I'm a marketer at Take-Two, and I want to market to all those email addresses because I think they're individual people. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to hit the button. I'm going to spin on ads on Instagram, on Facebook, on Google Ads to get an ad in front of that person. And that person is a single person, so it's very expensive. So in the CDP, using the ID resolution and bringing data from different sources, they're able to determine the priority of the email address and only send to the top email address, because gamers might have 5 emails, but they only check 1. And a unique way they did this is they're actually calling the support system that they're using. And when someone contacts support and says, I have a problem with this game, it's not loading, or I'm getting a glitch, or I got locked out of a server, that support email address is being prioritized back to the Emma profile, if you will, where there's 5 email addresses, but now that one is the priority, and you suppress sending emails or sending ads to the 4 others. So suppression alone is saving them millions of dollars because they don't have to spend the money on the same person 5 times. And they're just using the CDP's integrations to get an interaction from a customer that's reached out for support, because gamers will use a real email address or the one that they care about when they want support. And that's just a crazy use case, but it's just an example of suppression. Great. Okay, so we'll go into functionality ROI. And again, you're not buying the CDP for this, but it is an inherited functionality return on investment. So data integrations, really, you're able to not have to manage integrations anymore if you're doing it yourself. and you rely on our team to manage and keep those things compliant and reliable. Data processing, you have a data platform that's not a differentiator out there, but it's built into the CDP, because if you're going to bring data in, you better give the customer the ability to clean and do a variety of things. The ID resolution is very, very valuable, and we offer deterministic and probabilistic being a guess framework, educated guess framework on, is that a match between two people when you have data signals that are similar? And then you have the deduplication savings, like I talked about with Take Two. So once you get the unified view, you really get 360-degree insights. Once you have all the customers' data, you have the ability to kind of look at your customer audiences and your overall customer base analytically. So there's a benefit there. And you ultimately are sending this clean environment to the marketer. So the next layer of components that we covered in that slight architect slide is AI and data science. So generative and predictive AI. So, generative AI, what is that? Now the ability, and it's coming in our roadmap, with the ability to generate an image and generate an email and put the two together. The image will then be locked down to the brand's specific branding guidelines. And now you're generating an email to Emma, for example, based on everything you know about Emma. So that's going to be a very powerful and very, the benefits of AI applied to an email, then a generative AI image that matches that email, all is just a crazy example of some value. Audience segmentation is a pillar of why CDPs exist. Once you get all this data, you got to be able to slice the customers into different groups so that you can send different messages. So a crude example would be 5 different segments. You have your top value customers, top 20%. You have your bottom 10% who are potentially going to churn, and you have your mid pack, and they should see different messages. And with hyper personalization, you can now go into a group and then break that into another group, With generative AI, you can create emails that almost go to one-to-one level. It's quite exciting, and these are things that are being launched on the platform this year. Analytics and insight, once you bring all this data, it's a ripe environment for your analytics teams to do things. And again, this is just functionality. It's not the end game of why you're buying a CDP. And then, of course, you have the ability to personalize and point and click, activate out into marketing channels. So a marketer doesn't need to set up an integration, doesn't need to know SQL, can just create an audience and send it to an end system with point and click efficiency. All right, so here is the business value summary based on those components, but I want to focus on the bottom right, marketing ROI. So these are all the various terms that marketers care about improving. So customer acquisition cost, can you get that lower? The cost per click, that means your ads or your email are going to be AI generated, so they're going to resonate more. And so you're paying for so many clicks, you're going to get more clicks, and so your overall spend for clicks is lower. Cost per lead, click-through rate, return ad on marketing spend, of course, like a broader metric. So these are some of the value points that you can get within each component, but collectively, this will drive your sales to be more optimized. So when you spend marketing money, you're getting more value out of that marketing money. You're going to get more customers because you're converting better. You're going to get those customers to buy larger because they trust the brand. You're going to get the customers to buy more frequently because they're getting the right message at the right time, and they're not getting that message from the competitor. So where they're likely to spend their money is where they're getting treated well and where they're getting treated with the right frequency. Okay, that's a lot. I'll pause here to see if there's any questions just on the core.
Mark, I think it's interesting if you were to take the CDP model and apply that to a restaurant environment. Think about this. Think about walking into a restaurant and everything on the menu are things you love to eat. And the music you're listening to is your favorite music, right? Classic rock or whatever it is you like. The price points are within your budget. Your favorite desserts are there. The server has a lot of the similar likes and dislikes as you. I mean, it's just going to create a better experience. And I think if that was possible for a restaurant, I think I'd go there quite often, right? And that's where the personalization and the benefits of CDP kind of come alive for our clients, is that they can now provide what their customers are looking for, where they're looking for it, when they're looking for it, the price point they can afford. All of that is available to them to help them make some critical decisions and how they address the market.
Absolutely. And as an example of a company that is a customer, Constellation Brands, they have a large wine business and beer business, but we'll cover wine. Through the CDP, when customers go into some of their boutique wines, the wine rep has a tablet. That tablet has a view of that customer once they come in and say, I'm Mark Cook. And that person looks at Mark Cook. That is making a call to the CDP to get next best wine, next best offer or coupon or whatever they design. But that rep is now informed by the recency of the CDP data, the historical aspects of the CDP, the predictive scoring to make the recommendations that rep can recommend. They're selling more wine as a result, and the customer feels like, wow, I just walked into a place where they know everything about me. Very similar to restaurants who, for example, are using loyalty programs. Loyalty programs are a big part of what CDPs feed back to so that the loyalty program system is more informed with the collective understanding of the customer. Yep.
Absolutely.
So again, revenue center versus cost center. And we have a business value team that can go in with a customer if you're interested in this or you're selling it to customers to actually break down what the potential ROI. We have a variety of models. Once we understand the desired use cases, the data systems and data destinations, we model it all and provide that for a customer to look at before they consider, moving ahead.
That's great. Mark, can you walk us through a high-level architecture of a CDP? How does data enter and exit a CDP?
Okay, so now we've showed the architecture slide, but we'll go into a little more detail here. So the CDP architecture really is about these data points coming in, the greater understanding in the middle, and then sending it out with very personalized experiences and all the channels that a brand might use. So this is the same thing you saw earlier, just slightly different colors, but I wanted to go into the architecture data sources because I think it demystifies like, what is all this data and why would I bring it in? Well, to create the Emma profile, data around Emma is sitting in all these systems. Now, I will say most customers are using, maybe 6 to 10 of these, not necessarily every single one. But a lot of customers will come in to CDP and they have a lot of these systems, but they start with 5 or 6, get those going, and they start bringing in new ones as they develop their data model. So that's some of the systems that data is sitting in, not talking to each other, that has information about Emma, to use that example. And then these are the systems where they're flowing back. And again, in covering the CRM to inform like a salesperson or a tablet, you're seeing data go back into the originating systems as well as being a source. So that is not uncommon. And think of it as a hub and spoke model. It's very easy to bring data in and out at any point to do anything with it. We don't lock it down. We don't force your data model. But those are some of the destinations. And then this just puts it all back together with the more of a component breakdown, kind of left to right, integrations, processing, ID resolution. That's the data studio. And to Tim's question, that's where your analysts, data engineers, a marketer with some SQL skill. This is a technical environment with a lot of powerful compute to crunch through a ton of data. That's where the data studio lives. And over on the audience studio is where your marketers are operating at a point and click GUI environment. They don't need to know any SQL, but the SQL is always available. Like if you run a segment of a customer, you can actually click on a tab and see the SQL behind it if you care. And then you see data going in and out. And I want to illustrate the bottom left in that we have a bunch of integrations to get data out as well. So, and to common systems, not necessarily marketing systems. So you can send this clean data back into your data warehouse if you'd like. And a lot of customers do that just to have a second place for that data for, just data redundancy. BI reporting is also the flexibility of the platform, bottom right. That's where you can get data out into Tableau, Power BI, Looker, and any tool that you'd like, which most customers already have. And so we're not replacing their analytics. Is there analytics in the CDP? Yes, absolutely. But it is designed to augment your current BI reporting or send data out to it. And then you got your data going back out and so forth. And I think That is the journey to personalization, just in a different format, breaking it into the operational areas. You know, audience studio is marketing, data studio is your data engineers. Your AI suites could be used by anyone because they no longer require you to be a coder to get insights, create campaigns, and do different things. And those AI suites sit on top of all these. And then, you know, your analytics teams can get data out into their favorite tools as well.
So Mark, you mentioned Constellation Brands, which is one of our clients that our trusted advisor brought to you. Can you maybe break down for us, walk us through kind of what were the drivers for looking at CDP, and then what did they benefit from by utilizing? Because I know they've increased their investment at this point, what, 3, 4, 5 times where they started.
Yeah.
So they're obviously seeing a value to it. So maybe walk us through that example case study.
Sure. So Constellation Brands, if you're not aware, is close to a $10 billion company. They are a CPG classified company. So they manufacture alcohol, including Modelo, Pacifico, Corona in the US. Another company manufactures those beers outside of the US. Congress broke it up because it was too big. But they also own and operate wine businesses like Robert Mondavi Winery, and even some spirit businesses like High West Whiskey. And they traditionally would produce the alcohol and then send it into distribution, because the alcohol system in the US is you manufacture, then you have distributor, then you have retailer, or which can include you know, restaurants down to supermarket. And as a result of doing that, they really didn't have a lot of data on their customers. They just knew they were making money hand over foot, sending beer off to Safeway. But as a result of CDPs and our conversation with them about 4 years ago, they wanted to move where they could start marketing more one-to-one. And so when they came in, they had only 500,000 profiles, where other customers are typically coming in at 5 to 10 million profiles. And they wanted to understand their customers and market better. In particular for the wine business is really look at website data. When people go to a website and are looking at different wines, look at wine visits. That's a retail application, including all the data of an interaction at the boutique wines, where you get a personalized kind of experience, and really understand that to optimize their campaigns and marketing. Like, what did someone browse? What did they load in my shopping cart? And then what did they abandon? Maybe I need to send them an ad that, or an email that says, hey, what about this? And so some of that was a use case. The other side was on the beer side. Think about beer being made in Mexico. It's shipped to Safeway, or a distributor, and then shipped to a store, and you go in and buy a 6-pack. Did you give Constellation Brands any data? No. Now they have coupon code or QC codes on the beer bottles. That's part of their strategy to get more one-to-one information. But they had a ton of email addresses from sweepstakes. So they would offer free beers. They ran through an administrator, and they had you know, a bunch of email addresses that were in the sweepstakes side that weren't being marketed to. So they had the rights to market. They had the opt-in. They had all the alcohol necessary criteria of zip code, because there's dry counties. They had adult, at least a verification of being an adult, but they were not emailing them. So, but more importantly, even if they were emailing them, they weren't necessarily collecting any data about that and driving a personalized experience where they can. So that was a use case is, hey, let's not start emailing, but let's track the email interactions. And so we can continue to drive a customer towards a purchase. And so it was kind of split between the wine business and the beer business, but really they wanted to resolve identities. They had a lot of duplications in the sweepstakes. People are the same people, but they would use multiple email addresses, of course, to game the system. And then they really wanted to personalize down at the winery level where they could, and optimize their shopping cart experience as well. But then all of that with an overlay of ads that were relevant. So a lot of moving parts, and they really matured over time to collect more one-to-one data through events, through Wi-Fi, and where they're getting a profile, they're marketing to that person to drive them to stay within the Constellation Brands of alcohol. products.
That business is just so complex and it's changing so
Wow.
much. Like, I think about, what if you get something wrong, right? What if you think the market price for wine that people are going to spend is X and it's really Y? That's not so easy to go back. Sometimes it's easy to fix, sometimes it's not. What if they want to buy in a can format versus a bottle? Or what if we would prefer to buy from a convenience store versus a liquor store? I mean, all these things are changing. Varieties of wines. Are people leaning towards a sweeter wine or a drier wine? And if you get that wrong, think about the impact. How do you go back and change your packaging overnight and go back and plant your vineyard and with a different variety? And it's going to be a hugely impactful to the business in a very big way to miss the mark. And to me, that's what treasure data added infinite value to Constellation Brands is because it gave them all the things you discussed, but then it gave them some other insights that keeps them on the right track on a go forward basis.
Yeah, and I think one of the other use cases, not as exciting as like marketing better, but was when they decided they wanted to market to their customers more one-to-one than they had been, compliance and governance was very important because they're in a highly regulated industry. Alcohol is, and they needed the framework for that. And treasure data, we do business with large global 100 companies, and their requirements for security and compliance governance is extreme. And we have that, we don't market it, it's table stakes. You have to have it to play, but it definitely helped Constellation Brands feel secure that they had the tooling necessary to make sure they weren't accidentally marketing to minors and any dry counties and all the various regulated aspects of their business.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're a C-level, if you're a business owner, and you're looking for an unfair advantage to win business in the market, I mean, this is it. This is how you're going to achieve that, right? You got to find an edge. You got to find something that makes you stand out. And the personalization, the data analytics is where we're seeing the entire market move. You have to understand who your customer is and what they want. We've seen examples of that very recently where some large company didn't understand their customers very well and lost a huge chunk of business, billions of dollars. So it's the table stakes are very, very high. The stakes are very, very high if you're not using this data to really understand your client and provide them with what they're looking for, and provide it where they're looking at the price point they want to buy it at, and provide the options they might be interested in looking at from color to taste, texture, style, all the factors that go into how customers make decisions. I think this provides those customers with a very, very, very big advantage over businesses that aren't utilizing this technology.
Yeah, and when you see, large mega cloud companies like Salesforce and Adobe, offering and pitching this product or trying to accomplish it, Salesforce bought 7 different companies to do what we do in one platform. Adobe does, some of the components, but they ship you off to other customers. But backing out to the point, they're in the market because customers want this and they need it. And why would these mega companies with the best consultants in the world be in this marketplace? Because they know the value of it. And so it is new, but most marketers, if you're a marketer on the call, then you probably have heard of CDP. Maybe you have one that's doing a few things for you. Maybe it can't expand. That's a common thing. Nordstrom's is using an old vendor that's been embedded for ID resolution for a long time, and they bought us for everything else. So we can operate side by side with other CDPs. It's just the way, companies buy technologies, and sometimes they get very entrenched and it's hard to pull them out. And so they go around it. And that's an example of Nordstrom's. But the market is going after customers for this platform because it is generating an ROI that is tangible. And, again, customers have told us we'd pay you double, we would have paid you double. Wow. No one says that. So it is, if you're selling this and you're part of the community, if your customer has the time to unravel what this does, they will find value. And if you're a potential customer of it, and you haven't really explored CDP, we'd be glad to give you an introduction and help you out.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and open it up. We've got a few minutes left today. So if there's anybody that has a question for Mark, needs clarification on a specific topic, or just wants to share an email so we can get in touch with you after the event, we're happy to do that. It looks like Yvonne might have a question. Yvonne is asking, if she can get a customer interested, then she'd like to have you on a call with the customer. Yeah, Yvonne, absolutely. If I'm assuming you're one of our trusted advisors, if in fact you do come across an opportunity, then yes, Mark and his team will make themselves available. You'll have an expert at your beck and call to assist you, to answer any questions and lead you through that process. This is a very complex, product, but it has some amazing attributes and amazing benefits to any customer that's looking to utilize it. So thanks, Siobhan. We'll definitely help you with that. I don't see any other questions, Mark. Tim was very rambunctious and boisterous during the call. Is there anything you want to close us out with, Tim, that maybe we missed or didn't think about, or that you want to share? We think we
I would
covered it.
echo everything that Mark has said today. I think one of the things that really helps differentiate CDP is just how central it can be to the rest of your tech stack. So one thing that I think is always important to think about is when customers have already made investments on other pieces of technology, whether that be, the data collection side with a point of sale system, or on the final step of delivery with some sort of CMS system or way to push out a final messaging. The CDP not only provides its own set of unique capabilities, but it also improves upon the capabilities of things that are already being used by this customer, really allowing it to be kind of an end-to-end system that's going to build upon your current foundation and take it to the next level.
Great. Thanks so much, Tim. Mark, anything you want to add in closing?
No, the one thing I didn't want to do is like, why is treasure data great? And the obligatory logo slide. Those slides are in an appendix with the deck. You can take a look at kind of our pitch, but our website is a super valuable resource laden with blogs, with articles, with case studies.
Great case studies. Yeah, great case studies on there.
Where you can get information about this. And again, the point was kind of just bring everyone to an understanding at a common level of what CDPs do, some specific to treasure data. As I mentioned, like Salesforce has kind of built the equivalent through acquisition companies, and Adobe will send you off to other vendors to bolt it all together. Whereas treasure data is built all in one solution. But that information is there. Again, I wanted to keep it light on pushing treasure data specifically, but we are a exclusive partner with TechSource. So,
well, hey, I want to thank Mark Cook and Tim for joining us today. If there is an interest in learning more about a customer data platform, you can reach out to me directly at rob.o@technologysource.com. You can also go to our website where you can send a message or ask for additional information. We'd be happy to get you introduced to some experts at Treasure Data to help you with this journey. So thanks again to Mark and Tim at Treasure Data. Your expertise is always amazing and always interesting. The product is groundbreaking and revolutionary, to say the least. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. We'll be back next month with another virtual roundtable and sharing some unique technology solutions again then. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Rob.